Millionaire's card declined. Then a homeless child made an impossible decision. I need you to imagine the most impossible scenario. You're broke, hungry, living on the streets, and you witness a millionaire's card getting declined for a $20 purchase. Now here's the question that'll haunt you. Would you step up to help someone who has everything while you have nothing? Because that's exactly what happened. And this homeless child's decision didn't just shock everyone in that store. It exposed a truth about human nature so powerful, it'll change how you see every person you pass on the street. Don't click away, this gets intense. Hey, store lover. Welcome to the Narrative Hub, Reddit Stories. Believe me, this adventure gets wild, but it's only epic with you. Seriously, you make this possible. Want more stories? Greater adventure? Smash subscribe right now. Smash like. Comment below. Let's go. Costain Blackwell stepped out of his Lamborghini at the upscale Whole Foods on Fifth Avenue. Designer suit, Rolex gleaming, confidence radiating from every pore. He was closing the biggest deal of his career today, a $50 million tech acquisition that would cement his empire. But first, he needed coffee. Premium Ethiopian blend, $23.99 a bag. Behind the dumpster in the alley, 9-year-old Jamie pressed his face against the cold brick wall, watching through the store's glass doors. His shoes had holes that let in the October chill. His stomach hadn't seen a full meal in 3 days. But his eyes were sharp, observant, missing nothing. Costain approached the checkout with his usual swagger. The cashier, a college student named Sarah, recognized him from the business magazines her economics professor sometimes brought to class. Will that be all today, sir? Just the coffee. Costain pulled out his black American Express Centurion card, the card with no preset spending limit, the card that opened doors, commanded respect, made impossible things possible. He tapped it against the reader. Beep. Declined. Sarah's eyebrows furrowed. Sir, it looks like. Try it again. Costain's voice carried an edge now. The confidence cracked just slightly. Beep. Declined. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Other customers began to notice. Whispers started. That's impossible, Costain muttered, pulling out his phone. His banking app showed a balance that made his blood run cold. $0. Every account. Frozen. Seized. As Costain frantically called his lawyer, his accountant, anyone who could explain this nightmare, the truth began to emerge. His business partner, David Chin, the man he'd trusted with everything, had been embezzling for 2 years. Worse, he'd leveraged Costain's personal assets as collateral for illegal cryptocurrency trades. When the scheme collapsed this morning, it took everything with it. The FBI had frozen every account. The IRS was seizing properties. Costain Blackwell, worth $127 million yesterday, was now worth less than nothing. Sarah cleared her throat gently. Sir, I'm sorry, but if you can't pay. Costain looked around the store. 15 people watching. Their phones out, probably filming. His reputation, his empire, his entire identity crumbling in real time over a $24 bag of coffee. And that's when Jamie stepped inside. The impossible decision. The automatic doors whooshed open, and this tiny figure in torn jeans and a jacket 3 sizes too big walked toward the commotion. His sneakers squeaked against the polished floor, one sole flapping loose with each step. Hey, mister, Jamie said, his voice barely above a whisper. Costain looked down, seeing the kid for the first time. Dirty face, matted hair, but eyes that seemed ancient despite belonging to a 9-year-old. I got $27, Jamie said, reaching into his pocket and pulling out crumpled bills and coins. You can have it. The store went dead silent. Sarah's jaw dropped. Other customers stopped recording, stopped whispering, stopped breathing. Costain stared at the money in the child's outstretched hand. Kid, I can't. Please, Jamie interrupted, his voice stronger now. My mom used to say when someone's in trouble, you help if you can, even if you don't got much. What happened next shocked everyone in that store, but it wasn't what you think. Costain didn't take the money. Instead, he knelt down to Jamie's level, his $3,000 suit touching the grocery store floor, and asked the question that would change everything. Son, when's the last time you ate? Jamie's stomach answered with a growl that echoed through the silent store. Costain stood up, his entire demeanor transformed. The desperation was gone, replaced by something else, clarity. He looked at Sarah behind the register. Keep that coffee. But I need you to ring up every piece of fresh food this store has that a growing kid should eat. Fruits, vegetables, milk, bread, peanut butter, everything. He turned back to Jamie. You're buying me something much more valuable than coffee, son. You're buying me perspective. But sir, Sarah stammered, how will you? Costain smiled, the first genuine smile he'd worn in years. This young man here is going to teach me what real wealth looks like. But here's where this story takes a turn that no one, not even I, saw coming. As Costain and Jamie walked through the store, filling a cart with groceries, Jamie made a confession that shattered everything we thought we knew about this encounter. Mister, Jamie said quietly, I know who you are. Costain stopped pushing the cart. What? I seen you on TV. You're the man who owns the buildings. Jamie's voice got smaller. Including the one where me and Mom got evicted from last month. The blood drained from Costain's face. Blackwell Properties owned half the low-income housing in the district. The same district where Jamie had been living on the streets since his mother lost her job and they couldn't make rent. You know I'm the reason you're homeless? Jamie nodded. Mom explained it. Said sometimes people gotta make hard choices about money. Then why? Costain could barely form the words. Why would you offer to help me? Jamie looked up at this man who had inadvertently destroyed his world and said something so profound, so innocent, yet so devastatingly wise that it would haunt Costain for the rest of his life. 'Cause being mad don't make you less hungry. And you looked hungry too, just different hungry. That's when Costain Blackwell, former millionaire, current broken man, broke down crying in aisle 7 of a grocery store, while a homeless 9-year-old patted his shoulder and told him everything would be okay. But this story doesn't end there. Because as they were checking out, Jamie insisting on paying for half the groceries with his $27, a woman approached them. Detective Lisa Rodriguez, off duty, shopping for her own family. She'd been watching the interaction, recording it on her phone not for social media, but because something felt significant. When she heard Jamie mention the eviction, the building ownership, she put pieces together that would blow this story wide open. Excuse me, she said to Costain, showing her badge. Are you Costain Blackwell of Blackwell Properties? Costain nodded numbly. And you, she looked at Jamie, what's your full name, son? Jamie Chin. The detective's eyes widened. Chin, as in related to David Chin? What came out next would make international headlines and change everything we thought we knew about this story. Jamie Chin wasn't just a random homeless child. He was David Chen's nephew, the son of David's estranged brother, who had died in a car accident 8 months earlier. David had been supposed to take custody, but had disappeared into his embezzlement scheme, leaving Jamie's mother to struggle alone until she lost everything. David Chin hadn't just stolen from Costain Blackwell. He'd stolen from his own family first, leaving his nephew on the streets while he gambled away millions. Costain stared at Jamie with a mix of horror and understanding. Your uncle. David is your uncle. Jamie nodded. He used to send Mom money, then stopped. She tried calling, but his phone was disconnected. Standing in that grocery store, Costain Blackwell faced a choice that would determine not just his future, but his soul. He could walk away, let the system handle David Chin, rebuild his own empire, and forget this encounter ever happened. Or he could do something unprecedented. Jamie Costain said, his voice steady for the first time in hours, "I want to make you a deal. But not the kind of deal I used to make." He knelt down again, meeting the boy's eyes. "I lost everything today. My money, my properties, my company. But you know what? I gained something too. I gained clarity about what matters." He paused. "I can't give you back what your uncle stole from you and your mom. But I can promise you this. When I rebuild, and I will rebuild, you and I are going to be partners." The video of their encounter, captured by other customers, went viral within hours. But it wasn't the usual social media spectacle. Something about the raw humanity of the moment resonated with people in a way that transcended typical viral content. Within 48 hours, a GoFundMe for Jamie and his mother raised $2.3 million. A legal defense fund for Costain attracted pro bono attorneys who uncovered that David Chin had actually been manipulated by an international fraud syndicate, making Costain as much a victim as a perpetrator. But the real change wasn't financial. Costain spent the next month living in a shelter, not because he had to, but because he wanted to understand the world he'd been unconsciously contributing to through his business practices. Jamie became his guide to a reality he'd never seen. "You know what's funny?" Jamie asked one evening as they shared a meal at the community kitchen. "When I first saw you in that store, I thought you were the richest person I'd ever seen." "And now?" Costain asked. "Now I think maybe we both rich, just different ways." Costain realized that a 9-year-old boy living in a shelter had just articulated something that Harvard Business School had never taught him. Wealth isn't about what you have, it's about what you're willing to share. 6 months later, Blackwell Properties was reborn as Blackwelchan Community Development. Costain, having recovered most of his assets through the legal proceedings, restructured his entire approach to real estate development. Jamie, now in stable housing with his mother, whose medical bills had been covered by the viral fundraising, became the company's youngest consultant, advising on projects from the perspective of families who actually lived in the properties being developed. But here's the final twist that brings this story full circle. On the 1-year anniversary of their grocery store encounter, Costain and Jamie returned to that same Whole Foods. Not for publicity, not for a documentary crew, just to buy coffee and reflect on how much had changed. Sarah, the cashier who had witnessed it all, was now the store manager, promoted after her compassionate handling of the incident became part of corporate training materials. "Same order," she asked with a smile. "Actually," Costain said, "make it 2 coffees. And whatever Jamie wants." As Costain paid with a card that actually worked this time, Jamie pulled out his own money, not crumpled bills and coins, but a crisp $20 bill from his allowance for helping with community outreach. "My treat," Jamie insisted. But before Costain could protest, Jamie said something that summarized everything they'd learned. "Mom says the best way to stay rich is to remember what it felt like to be poor. And the best way to help someone who's falling is to remember what it felt like when someone caught you." The Costain Blackwell who walked out of that grocery store wasn't the same man who had walked in. The difference wasn't in his bank account, though that would recover and grow beyond his previous wealth. The difference was in his understanding of what wealth actually meant. Today, Blackwelchan Community Development has built over 3,000 units of affordable housing, implemented a zero eviction policy except in cases of property damage, and established a fund that pays rent for families facing temporary hardships. Jamie Chin, now 10 years old, has spoken at conferences about homelessness, consulted with city planners about child-friendly urban design, and maintained straight A's in school. But perhaps most importantly, Their friendship became a testament to something we all need to remember. Sometimes the most valuable thing you can offer someone isn't money, isn't power, isn't connections. It's the simple recognition of their humanity in a moment when they've forgotten it themselves. The grocery store incident lasted 15 minutes. The friendship that grew from it will last a lifetime. And every time Costain uses his credit card now, which works perfectly, by the way, he remembers a 9-year-old boy who saw a stranger in trouble and offered everything he had to help. Because that's what real wealth looks like. Not what you can afford to lose, but what you're willing to give when you have nothing left to lose. The question Jamie asked that day still haunts everyone who hears the story. When someone's falling, do you step back to avoid getting pulled down, or do you step forward to help them get back up? Your answer to that question might just reveal whether you're truly rich or just temporarily wealthy.